My mother was always around, always present and absent. She didn't work as she was declared disabled due to the strain of asthma that made itself obvious in her body. Almost any and every environment posed a dangerous threat as she upped her dosage of asthma puffs. It was as if every day there was something new. To begin with, I lived in a house with 7 other people. My oldest sister, her 3 kids, my youngest sister, the one that was the baby for 12 years before I came along, her daughter, my mother, and I. It was fun being around family, but it was also hard because I don't ever recall being with my mother alone. I don't remember if I ever had a chance to sit down and get to know her by myself. Unaware if this was something that would have facilitated my maturity as a young woman, but realized that it was probably an event that stunted growth for a period. My family was very close. Maybe the secrets and lack of visitors kept us tight-knit. Sleepovers or slumber parties didn't happen. Friends didn't visit, and if they did, they played with us outside, and they didn't stay long enough to have to use the bathroom. We didn't have running water or indoor plumbing in our house. Not knowing any better, I thought this was normal. I thought having to pump my own water, wash in a basin and steel tub, and empty my waste in the bushes behind the house each morning before school was what everyone else did. Removing flies out of the water that had sat for a couple days didn't bother me either because I soon learned that the heat from the stove destroyed everything. It wasn't until my senior year in high school that my mother was able to outfit the house properly and add plumbing. My mother never talked much openly about her life as a child. I'm still not sure if it was a personality defect or something she decided to leave in the past. She gave birth to me at the age of 41 and by this time had settled into being an old maid. Not certain if it was the asthma or old age that stopped her from shaking a tail feather with me or playing double dutch or telling me that I would spend the rest of my life trying to fill the void of my absent father. As my teachers verbalized and wrote, I was a very smart and talkative kid. I would like to add angry, too. At the time, I didn't know where the anger originated. For one, I was mad because I had an old mom. She didn't look old, but I knew she was because my oldest sister's oldest daughter and I were the same age. This meant my mother and my oldest sister were pregnant at the same time, so I deduced that either my mom was old or my sister was young, perhaps too young to be a mom. In this case, it was the former. Having an old mom that didn't work wasn't cool. I didn't mind the not working part because we received a check every month and got food stamps, so we did eat. We were on welfare and everything the government offered, we participated. I didn't like that she didn't want to be bothered. Maybe she did, but the constant yelling and the lack of individual time made me feel unwanted. Then again, the fact that I slept in the bed with her up until high school, even now when I visit, should have counted as alone time. Contrary to popular belief, it was a time where she reminded me of all the things I did wrong that day. I could never get it right. Even though I was on the honor roll, got awards for perfect attendance, highest score in math, spelling bee contestant, I still was not good enough. What I soon began to discover was no matter what I did, my mother was going to hammer home what I didn't. Something that only a man with a hard hand would pass along. Something that a child with a deceased mother would never learn. By the time I entered 5th grade, life for me, the bastard child of an older woman, had gotten so difficult that I could care less about school. Because I was super smart, I continued to stay on the honor roll, but only wanted to be around my friends. In the city where I went to school, students were separated for my outward appearances based on grades. I think if I remember correctly, I was in the AB class. My friends were in the BC, CD class, and I wanted to be with them. The start of trying to fill the void. Always the independent one, as my mother said. I asked the teachers, could I change classes, but they said no. This answer was unsatisfactory. As clever as I was, I asked my mother to sign a piece of paper. She did, and I wrote a suicide note. I wrote that I was going to kill myself if I wasn't allowed to change classes. The school went into lockdown mode and called my mother. They were convinced my mother wasn't aware of what she was signing and believed I was suffering from mental problems. After spending a year or so, maybe less, with the psychiatrist, he and everyone else admitted that I wasn't crazy, but in fact starved for attention and love. I think this was more of my expert opinion since I lived within myself much of the time. Little did I know that these visits would open wounds that would take more than a decade to heal. I became increasingly frustrated with my situation, so much so that my mother's favorite kitchen knives became my best friends, and I would sleep with them every night. One night, I decided to place them all under my mother's pillow, hoping that she would toss and turn and meet my friends. She discovered the knives before this happened, and after telling all of my siblings, 5 in total, they began to watch my every move. Seeing as they had their own children, their bodyguard act didn't help my diagnosis. I still wanted to be loved, whatever that meant. Never an obvious or storybook example in my house.